The transfer portal is wild. We've already seen Dylan Gabriel, the Oklahoma quarterback, commit to Oregon. We're seeing a lot of guys move, and Clemson's actually involved in a serious way, at least on the offensive line. So let's talk a little bit about who's out, who's in. I think there's some positive developments and at least some interesting developments for Clemson. So heading out through the transfer portal, quarterback Hunter Helms, offensive lineman Mitchell Mays, tight end Sage Ennis, a couple others, but let's start with them. Helms leaving. I like Helms, perfectly good backup quarterback, but as long as they're going to have Paul Tyson and Chris Vizina also on scholarship, I think it's probably good to open up that scholarship spot. That is assuming that Paul Tyson stays. If Tyson were to leave, you'd want to grab another backup, unless you really believe that Chris Vizina is ready to be the number 2. And even then, you don't really have a number 3, or you don't have number 3 aside from walk-on. So you might want to grab another one with Tyson leaves, but it looks like he's staying at least as of Saturday night, December 9th. So I think that's good. Mitchell Mays had a 47.1 PFF grade, really, really low. I think you're happy that spot's opened up, and he's not using a COVID year to play another year at Clemson. And Sage Ennis, he tore his ACL. So a little weird that he's going to transfer. He was the number 2 tight end. Maybe Christian Betancourt coming in is potentially going to push him. I don't know. But I think that's another spot where I like Dennis, but maybe for the best to open up more roster space. Toriano Pride, cornerback, is transferred out. He's going to Missouri. That's a blow to the depth. I liked Pride, but he was not one of the 2 best cornerbacks. So he went, and I'm imagining he's going to start at Missouri, and that's why he went there. He's also from St. Louis. So he gets to go back home. You have to be happy for him. And then we don't know for sure about Mickens. We saw some reports he was either going to the NFL or transferring, but now we don't know for sure. And then Andrew Makuba is in the portal. I thought he was going to the NFL. So I was expecting him to leave, but not through the portal. So that's a bit of a bummer to lose him that way. And then 2 that are very interesting: David Ojiegbe, the defensive end who redshirted this season, and Beaux Collins, the leading wide receiver on the team. I want to talk about those 2 because defensive end shapes up to be a big weakness. I saw it as a weakness prior to last season because I didn't really believe in Maskell. Luckily, TJ Parker was really good as a freshman, much more so than anyone expected. And so that largely covered it up. But I thought another defensive end last year would have been great. Well, now they lose Xavier Thomas and Maskell. Now Parker's back, but beyond him, you're looking at Cade Denhoff, and that's pretty much it. No one else who's really proven anything. I don't know if the Denhoff has proven anything, but he was a highly rated guy. You got Chris Rumpf now as the defensive ends coach, which is a big upgrade over Lemansky Hall. So maybe he can develop him quickly, and maybe that's okay, but you've got no depth there. So Clemson, especially with Ojiegbe leaving, kind of opening up the numbers, they've got Parker, Denhoff, AJ Hoffler, Jaheim Lawson, who I was not very high on when they took him, Darian Mayo, who will just be a true freshman. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to contribute immediately. Zaire Patterson, who I thought would transfer because he didn't touch the field, but he hasn't so far. And Adam Kisai, who is supposed to be more of a developmental guy. I'm guessing he's going to redshirt. So, that is only 7 total guys on scholarship at defensive end. Seems like they would have room to add another. Seems like a pressing need. The other one's wide receiver, where Beaux Collins leaving could be a good thing if they go out and add someone who has a little bit more jump ball ability, big play ability, speed. But we haven't heard anything yet. And if they don't, if Spector doesn't come back, we don't know if he will. But if he doesn't come back, they only have 10 guys on scholarship, and only a few have ever really contributed. You're looking at Antonio Williams, Tyler Brown. After that, you're counting on Bryant Westco, Troy Stellato, who contributed some this year, but, not much. Cole Turner, maybe Adam Randall, probably Ronan Hannafin and TJ Moore. So you're depending on a lot of guys who you really shouldn't be depending on, and just instead be hoping that they could, give you depth or break through. But I don't think you want to depend on Westco to be your star on the outside, or Cole Turner to be your star on the outside, because that's where they're at right now. That's what they need right now. So I think wide receiver is the most important spot for them to add someone. But right now, they have 83 guys on scholarship, including all the incoming freshmen. That assumes that Will Shipley stays, which I don't know if he will. That assumes that Brandon Spector stays. I'm guessing he won't. So there could be some more spots opening. They'll also have some more freshmen coming in that can make up for some of that attrition. But seems like there'll be at least 2 spots to add guys, and probably a few more as there's a couple other potential transfers out, which I'm not going to speculate on in this video, but I would guess probably I would anticipate 4-ish guys leaving. So if you have 2 spots, 4 more leave, that's 6, and then you add a few more freshmen, maybe 3 or 4 spots for transfers. We'll see, but I think that's about right. They did get some good news on Barrett Carter. He will be returning. I thought it was the right call. Actually, kind of a down year, and I think maybe he didn't put himself in the best position last offseason. He made a comment that he realized he wasn't in the best shape in that Duke game. And I think with a great offseason training, he could be a high NFL draft pick, at least as high as linebackers, not middle linebackers, but, off-ball linebackers tend to go in the draft, which isn't super high, but I think he could do himself some real good with a really great season. So luckily, linebacker probably isn't a spot where they need to add a transfer. They have Barrett Carter, Wade Woodaz, and I'm guessing Khalil Barnes plays the nickel because if Mickens comes back, which right now I'm not counting him in my numbers, but if he does come back, you have Mickens, you have Tyler Venables coming off the injury redshirt year, you have Sherrod Koval coming off an ACL tear, you have Kylon Griffin coming off a great freshman year. So you actually have some good pieces at safety, which allows you to put Barnes at nickel, and then you've got a pretty good safety. You got good cornerbacks. You got good linebackers. Your defensive tackles. As long as you get a defensive end and you don't have to shift Woods out, you've got Capehart. You've got Capehart and Woods starting. You've got Peyton Page. You've got Trey Williams. You're great at tackle. So the defense could be outstanding. The one spot, excuse me. The one spot you're hearing Clemson really making waves in this transfer portal, really talking to guys, and it sounds like they're really serious about it, is on the offensive line. They've talked to Keylan Rutledge, transfer out of Middle Tennessee State. Coach Rich Stockstill was fired, and he reached out to Danny Pearman, who's kind of the lead for Clemson's portal. He's actually doing it, right? He's talking to him. He's having a visit. Rutledge played really well in games against Missouri and Bama last season, so they know he could do it against tough competition. He's also looking at Georgia Tech and Auburn, so Clemson does have to beat them. But Clemson beats those teams on the recruiting trail of high school. They need to start translating that to the portal, be an elite recruiting team overall, because that's what it is now. It's not just elite recruiting in high school. You got to be elite recruiting high school and the portal. So hopefully Clemson can win that battle. The other one they're looking at is a tackle. So Keylan Rutledge played right guard last year. Alan Herron from Shorter College is a tackle. He's from Shorter College, but big-time schools. Penn State is looking at him, and the other one, Texas Tech. So Clemson's in a battle with them. So you look at who Clemson had or has coming back on the offensive line. You got Blake Miller. He had the best grade of all returning players, 72.3. So that's rock solid. Marcus Tate at 66.7. That's a PFF grade. Pretty good. After that, starts to getting not as pretty. Walker Parks is 62.9. That's only over 122 snaps, but he's never been great at right guard. He was great when he was a tackle. He never really settled in a guard. Again, limited sample size this season. Maybe he would have settled in, but he didn't. And then after that, Tristan Lee is 60.7. Not that great. Colin Sadler, 58.5. Not good. Harris Sewell, 51.5. Not good. Trent Howard, a 50.5. Also not good. If we look at what this offensive line could be next season, a left tackle, I would love to see Parks move back to tackle. I thought he was awesome when he was a right tackle, and he's never really been the same inside. So I'd love to see Parks play left tackle. But if they could land Alan Herron, maybe he could be the left tackle. That would also be a great situation. Marcus Tate, I think, is the left guard. He comes back healthy. He's been one of Clemson's better offensive linemen. He's actually progressed, really the only one who has progressed over the last couple of years. So I like Marcus Tate to stay at left guard, come back healthy, and reclaim that spot. At center, if they have Herron at left tackle, or for any reason if Parks isn't at left tackle, maybe at center you put Parks, or maybe you land Rutledge, who was a right guard, maybe move him to center, and then a right guard. That could be either Parks or Rutledge. You could whichever one in either spot, or maybe Tristan Lee, depending on which of these transfers you land. those are some options at right guard. And then right tackle, I think you just leave Blake Miller there. He's a good run blocker. And he was Clemson's best offensive lineman last year, so I don't think you mess with him. I don't think you mess with Tate or Miller. Leave Tate at left guard, leave Miller at right tackle, and figure out the rest from there. But I do think if you could land at least one, if not both of these transfers, this offensive line has a chance to go from kind of bad, but in part because of injuries, to getting those guys back from injury. You lose Putnam, but then you plug these guys in. Could be a good bit better, could be above average. And, with Matt Luke coaching them up, maybe they could be way above average. So love what we're hearing. Obviously, they need to actually land the guys. This isn't the first time they've gone after an offensive lineman. They went after Oluwatimi from Virginia a couple of years ago. He went to Michigan. So they need to actually land them, but it's very encouraging to hear that they're really serious about it. Now we have to listen to see who they land, and will we at least hear something at wide receiver and defensive end, because they're going to have holes there otherwise. So we'll listen for that. If you're not already, please subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much. Don't forget to like this video. And go Tigers, as always. We'll be listening to see what happens next.